Welcome to the Executive Edge interview series. I am Nora Paxson, CEO, coach, leadership strategist, and advisor to founders and senior executives. I help leaders think bigger, lead more intentionally, and create lasting organizational impact. Today's conversation hits a nerve in this moment of history. Everyone is talking about the age of AI, but my guest sees something deeper happening, something far more human. Wesley Eugene believes we've entered the age of experience, an era where leaders who design for people, not just technology, will define the future. Wes had built his career championing humanizing IT and now humanizing AI, helping leaders bring empathy, clarity, and story into a world obsessed with speed and automation. His newest creation, Game Time, embodies that mission by helping people step off the bench, build authentic visibility, and lead with presence. Wes, I'm thrilled you're here.
Nora, it's such an honor to be here. Yeah, I couldn't be more excited.
Thank you, Wes. Let's jump in, Wes. You recently said we're not living in the age of AI. We're living in the age of experience. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, Nora, when people say the age of AI, they're really talking about like the tools and the technology that are disrupting our environment right now. And it's very exciting, but I'm much more interested in what these technologies and capabilities do for us as humans. So to me, we're in the age of experience because that's where the real competitive advantage is right now. It is those leaders and those organizations that really index and manage and exploit how it feels to work for you, buy from you, partner with you. AI is just the infrastructure. Experience is the outcome, right?
Love it.
So the question isn't like, how fast can we automate this? It's really what experiences are we intentionally designing for our employees and our customers and our communities? And how do we use AI in service of those outcomes?
That's great. So, when you talk about humanizing AI, what exactly are you pushing leader to rethink or redesign?
Yeah. So when I say humanizing AI, I'm pushing leaders to rethink what they optimize for, not just cost and speed, but trust, right? Clarity, emotional safety, dignity. Um, I'm also pushing them to think about who's in the room. So AI decisions can't just be made by data scientists and vendors, right? You need HR, frontline staff, operations. You need people, and you need people who really understand the lived experiences that they're trying to impact. And then finally, how do we measure success, Nora? So if your AI project works on paper, but your employees feel surveilled, dehumanized, right? Disposable, that's not a success. And so that's really more like harm with a good dashboard. And that's not what you want. Humanizing an AI means you don't treat humans as edge cases in systems, like you designed a system around the humans from day one.
Yeah. And you've worked in an environment where automation and efficiency dominate decision making. So where do you think leaders get it wrong when they over-index on the tech and under-index on the human?
Yeah, I really think it's really easy. It's really easy in order to do that. Um, Leaders often get into this thing where they think about different parts of organization, IT famously as like a cost center, right? And then you want they may see people as tech cost centers and then tech as the hero. But that's how you may end up with a bunch of chatbots that don't actually deploy any real meaningful value. Um, Ultimately, what you want to do, what they miss is that they're missing the outcome. They are getting enthralled by the
Mhm.
capability and the technology, but they're forgetting the why. Like Simon Sinek so famously said, start with why. What is your purpose? What are you trying to shift, change, elevate? Is the technology built for humans, or are we saying humans are here to serve the technology?
Oh, love those questions. So in reality, let's be realistic. So, what does it truly means to be human-centered? And I want you to look at it from look the approach, how this approach basically is to AI, and then looks in and how it looks into in practice.
Yeah. So there was just an article that came out, Nora, where they were quoting Sam Altman, was saying OpenAI is facing a code red moment and that they really need to get better and better on the daily experiences of their users.
Mm,
This is coming from Sam Altman, who even now the code red moment is what an experience oversight. And so what it means to be take a human-centered approach to AI means that you start with stories and not with systems. Like you're really listening to your employees and your customers, the ones that Sam says that OpenAI is overlooking, and you figure out like how do they move throughout their regular day, a day in the life, and how will the technology enhance or enable that, right?
mhm,
You co-designed. So many times we IT and technologists are famous for this, taking a very paternalistic approach. I'm going to do this for you. We know what's best for you. Take your medicine, take your technology medicine. That's not right. The appropriate way is to co design and co create. So you bring the person who you're designing for, you invite them in to co create what better would look like. You prototype small and you learn fast. There's an explosion of AI companies, but there's not an explosion of business value right now. This
mm,
is what the market is dealing with. We're seeing millions and millions and billions of dollars in infrastructure surging, and yet when we're talking about actual return on investment, they're struggling very much right now to
mhm,
define it. So you really need to prototype small and learn fast. And these are not new concepts, but we've forgotten to apply these things. So we learn and then we build on what we learn. You need to be, and I need to emphasize this, explicit about the guardrails, right?
yep.
The ethical AI is not just a good thing to do, it's great for business, right? When we think about it, every technology innovation starts this way. I like to talk about Henry Ford and the Model T. Amazing, right? That we
Mm,
suddenly can move from horse and buggy to automobiles. But you know what? There was quite a bit of time, many decades that followed the invention of the Model T before we had the invention of the seatbelt. And in the meantime, we had a lot of human cost,
mm,
fatalities that didn't need to happen. We can be explicit about the guardrails now: ethics, bias, data privacy, psychological safety, all these things. We need to name them and we need to build with them in mind, right? And then finally, keep a human in the loop wherever it matters the most. It's great. I love AI. I work with it every day, but AI is my partner. I am clearly the leader. I'm not being led by the technology, it is being led by me. And that has to be like a primary principle in how we interact with these systems.
yep. I totally agree. So you've said before that empathy is an edge. And one of the ways you bring empathy in tech is through something a lot of leaders overlook: storytelling. So, why is storytelling one of the most essential leadership skill, Wes, in the age of experience?
Storytelling is so critical. We have been talking about the age of AI, and we're talking about how, this technology mimics human neural networks. At the same time, our brain, the human brain, is a storytelling machine. It's how we learn. Narrative is actually like core. It's how history is built. Um, and at the end of the day, when it comes to technology in particular, especially in the age of AI, our ability to be able to articulate what we need, the experiences we're trying to build, and the purpose and the value they drive, and connect the dots between the cost, quality, value, and the constraints of all of this. that is what's going to separate the leaders from the losers, so to speak, right? It's really what's
Hmm.
going to separate those who are successful in this time and those who are just trying to keep up.
Yeah, powerful. So, can you share a moment when storytelling shifted the trajectory of a team, a product, or an initiative?
I have several stories, Nora, where poor storytelling led to a lack of innovation and a lack of funding, right? And I can think of times along my career. In particular, I remember one funding cycle back when I was with a cool insurance company who has the greatest mascot ever, a duck. Um, a company called Aflac. We're in we're fighting for digital transformation there, and one product team had a really clear and impactful transformation to the legacy and infrastructure they wanted to make. The challenge was, and this change, to be clear, would have sped up claims processing, would have done a
Mm,
lot that's core to the business. But that product leader was a poor storyteller. The way he told the story at the time is that he told it in terms of assuming that everyone just understood the value of this technology. And so it was a little bit of cockiness involved, but specifically, they forgot to talk about the human impact. They forgot to talk about how this would impact policyholders, claimants. When somebody has a claimant at Aflac, Aflac's biggest policies are cancer policies. That's the worst day in their life, right? So being able to articulate how you're driving value for that claimant is huge.
yeah,
And they failed to do that. Whereas a less impactful at the time product solution, that product leader, she was able to connect when she talked about her initiative. She was able to talk about the customer, the claimant, and then what it would mean for them to uh, get their get their claims approved and paid in a single day, and how to transform how a family struggling with a cancer diagnosis would move forward. And she got funding, and he didn't.
yeah. Wow. What a great example. So, as you know, a lot of leaders struggle to communicate vision in a tech first world, right? So how can storytelling basically help them bring clarity, alignment, and energy back into the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, a good story gives you three things, right? It gives you context, characters, and conflict, right? So the context is like, here's where we are, here's what's changing in the world, and here's why the status quo just won't work anymore. But then, like, the characters are not like abstract roles. Like, in the world of design, we like to think about personas, but specifically, we're talking about
Mm,
real people, humans, right?
yeah,
So meet Jordan in customer support, meet Aisha in operations. Here's how this change impacts them, right? So you bring in those characters, and then the conflict is not fake drama, but the real tension. If we don't adapt, if we don't make these changes, here's the real risk. Here's what's possible. And so when leaders learn to tell that story repeatedly in town halls, one-on-ones, strategy documents, they stop sounding like they're reading from a script, Nora, and they start
yeah,
sounding like they really are guides that are empathic, and they understand the journey that their people can see themselves in. And that clarity brings alignment and energy, and that's a natural byproduct of a good story.
yeah. And by the way, talking about storytelling is one of the most critical these days. I mean, in the era we live in, competency, leadership competency. So and your ability to tell story is really rooted in your own transformation, the one that you've been incredibly intentional about. So let's go there. So you often talked about your personal transformation journey, Wes. And so what really sparked it? And what did you have to let go of to become the leader you are today?
Yeah. So we're going there, Nora.
Yes, we're going there.
My transformation didn't start with a promotion, right? It really started with pain, honestly. losing
Mm,
roles, navigating change, life changes like a divorce, facing financial pressures, and realizing that honestly, and I'm so thankful for the work you and I did on this one on one. But like, I had to come face to face with the fact that I had built this identity on being the strong one, the fixer, the high performer,
mm,
and I was neglecting my own soul, my own deep, deep needs. And what it sparked, it was a moment where I had to realize I had to optimize my life the same way we optimize broken systems at work. I was chasing efficiency, performance, and external validation at the
mm,
cost of my own peace and my own humanity. You know, I had to honestly, I had to let go of a few things, right? Like one was the need to be the hero in every story. I had to let that
mm,
go. That wasn't
mm.
easy, you know.
Yeah.
I had to let go of the need for big titles or impressive salaries. And more important than any of those things was the need, the addiction to other people's approval. I had to
Mm,
let that go.
yeah.
And ultimately, I also had to let go of the belief that my worth comes from how much I endure or sacrifice, right? And these transformations were not easy, but again, I'm internally grateful that my relationship, me knowing you, really
Oh,
having you
thank
as a
you.
coach helped me really navigate a lot of those changes. You know, it's still a daily practice, Nora, but I'm
Thank you.
choosing alignment over applause as much as possible every day.
Thank you. Thank you, Wes. And thank you for being vulnerable and honest. So, what are the non-negotiable in your transformation playbook? The practices, the mindset, or maybe the disciplines you rely on the story aligned to stay
Yeah.
aligned?
So I'll try to keep it simple, but you know, when I think about my non-negotiables, one
Yeah.
of them is daily connection, right? I'm a person of faith. Prayer, meditation, and stillness are so critical. It's how I start every single morning. 10 to 15, 20 minutes to remember who I am and why I'm here. Um, and out of that stillness came a practice, a journaling practice. I call it my gift practice. And so I'll share it with your audience as a gift to them in this holiday season. But
Hmm.
it stands for gratitude, inspiration or insight, feeling, and transformation. And so I literally, as I journal, I start with a moment of gratitude. I find two or three things or people that I'm grateful for. I move into inspiration or insight. So I may read a passage from my favorite leadership book, like it might be uh, put a a dent in the universe by Nora Paxson, or
Thank you.
and at other times like it may be a passage of scripture, right? But I
Mm,
start with some insight and some inspiration, and then I sit with my feelings. I actually check in. I close my eyes. I sit still, and I ask myself, "What am I feeling right now? What's coming up for me?" Right? So much
mm.
is in our bodies, Nora. Like our bodies remember. There's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh,
So
I
much
love
is
this
in
book.
our bodies, right? So
Yes.
I sit there and I actually allow myself to feel what is coming up and I
Yeah.
name it. And then I move
Yeah.
to transformation. So
Yeah.
now that this thing has come up, how am I going to transform or transmute it in my day?
Yeah.
So it's my journaling practice. Third is movement. You know, I like to get some exercise in the morning, and it
Yeah.
shifts my mind big time. And then radical honesty. I ask myself, where am I out of alignment? Where may I be people pleasing instead of truth telling? And then community. I don't do this alone. Coaches like working with you, like I mentioned, therapists, my spiritual community, trusted friends. Um, I do my best to ensure that I have moments of connection with community as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I love this. And then we'll make sure to add your recommendation. So if someone listening feels stuck, invisible or overwhelmed by the pace of tech, what's one step you have them take this week, maybe to start reclaiming their presence?
Mhm. I would recommend that they go analog to get aligned,
Oh.
right? Find a moment of disconnection with the technology and the screens to reconnect with their own humanity, Nora.
Mm.
This could be a walk in the park without your phone, or with your phone and your devices on do not disturb.
Yep.
This could be just sitting still away from any screens. And how about this? Chasing boredom, like literally intentionally design boredom into your day at some point, not chasing a to-do list, not chasing technology, not reading an email, please, not doom scrolling on LinkedIn or Instagram, literally being bored. Hey, how about reading a book? So these things, the reason I think that they're so impactful when you're stuck is that what I believe is differentiates human beings from the AI in this moment is our creativity. I believe that
Oh,
creativity is the spark of divinity in every human being. And ultimately, that is not something that AI can take away, but it is something that's easy to become disconnected from, and we re-energize our
yeah.
creativity in those moments of digital disconnection.
Yeah, I absolutely abide by that because, boredom is such a critical part of our day to be more creative. This is where the biggest idea comes. I mean, I'm sure if you talk to famous leaders, and they use boredom to be creative and to think about new ways. So that brings me to straight to game time, because in
Okay.
many ways it's the practical expression of everything you've shared. So tell me, Wes, what inspired you to create Game Time, and what gap did you see that people were not addressing?
Yeah, so Game Time was born out of watching brilliant people, innovative leaders sitting on the bench while algorithms, broken hiring systems, and corporate politics decided their fate, right? I
Yeah.
kept meeting insanely talented, what I call corporate athletes, Nora, who were invisible on paper, right? Resumes didn't really capture their story, their resilience, and their leadership. And all the AI systems were filtering them out because they didn't perfectly match, the specific keywords that they were looking for role X or Y. So the gap became really clear, right? We have these tools that can amplify noise, but very few spaces designed to amplify real humans, their story, their presence, and their value in a
Mm.
way that employers and investors and partners can really feel. So that's really what inspired me to create this. And I'm happy to announce for the first time
Oh,
that what started out as an experiment is become a platform. And in January, we're launching Amplify.io, and it's
that's
a whole
amazing.
community. That's right, Nora. A community where you will never receive a pink slip. A community of searchers like yourself who are
Oh,
looking to connect with other humans in order to find value. And this is a community where you never search for your next role alone. You have the power of community that's searching on your behalf, and you are at the same time searching on behalf of the community. So you are now always held in this sacred container of like minded people that are just focused on one thing, that's amplifying you. And ultimately, this is a community that values HI, human intelligence, over AI. So I'm very, very pleased to announce that here.
this is, well, thank you for sharing, Wes, and this is very exciting too. I'm excited to share it around us. And so talking about that, so you mentioned Game Time is built around visibility, presence, and storytelling, which are all human skills. How does that tie into your larger mission of humanizing AI and designing for people?
Yeah. Well, it is a little bit of digital activism on my part.
Mm-hmm.
right? And what I mean is that um, when you look at Game Time, which is to now become AmplifyMe.io and Humanizing AI, they're two sides of the same coin. And what I mean is, on one side, I'm working with organizations to design systems that see and serve humans better. But on the other side, Game Time helps humans to show up in these systems with more story, more clarity, and more presence, right? If AI is going to sit in the middle of how we're hired, evaluated, and discovered, then we need better systems and we need better stories.
Yep.
So, Game Time is about equipping people to bring their whole story forward to the table so that they're not just another data point in someone's dashboard. It's shifting them from being 2D to 3D.
Mm. So your line, "The bench is crowded, step into your spotlight," is absolutely powerful. And so what does that mean for people trying to lead today's world?
Yeah, I mean, the bench is crowded means you're not the only brilliant, underutilized person out there, right? There are millions of people who've been laid off, restructured, overlooked, and who still carry incredible value. It's so important that you understand that if you're on the bench, you're not broken. You're in a transition. So step into the spotlight is the invitation. And it's a challenge, right? It means stop waiting for a recruiter, a manager, or a platform to discover you. Start owning your own story, your lane, and your impact out loud. Be willing. This is a big one. And it's one that I personally had to navigate in my own
Mm,
transformation. But be willing, Nora, to be seen.
mm,
Be willing to share your work and be
mm.
willing to ask for the room you deserve. In today's world, leadership isn't just about the role you hold, it's about the presence you can bring, right? And even before the titles catch up.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit earlier, but I got to ask that question. So what's your vision for Game Time and how it will empower people in the age of experience?
Yeah, so my vision for Game Time is to transform the world by really bringing forth this platform, AmplifyMe.io, that becomes a community where humans are experienced and not just
Mm,
evaluated, right? So, what I see here is this global bench of free agents who are telling their stories in 3D, video, narrative, impact, right? And
yeah.
not just bullet points, not just another dry resume. Employers, investors, partners, talent seekers, they coming to AmplifyMe.io, not just to fill their roles, but to find humans who can transform their culture and performance. Once they interact with with this platform, they actually know you. They have a sense like, oh, I feel like I know Ryan. I feel like I know Diana. This is a community where people don't just get jobs; they get language and for their value, they get healing for their confidence and tools to show up with more courage and more clarity. Ultimately, in this age of experience, your story and your presence and your impact, they really are your brand. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so AmplifyMe.io for me is one of those ways we help people to step into that reality
Mm.
and with a lot less fear and a lot more agency and power.
Oh, love it. Lot less fear and let more agency and power. Um, so Wes, I will definitely share your contact information. Well, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
You know what? Number one way to get a hold of me is just to DM me on LinkedIn. Seriously, that works 9 times out of 10, really 10 out of 10. Um, but you can always email me at Wesley at OUIstrategy.com. Again, that's Wesley at OUIstrategy.com. And I look forward to speaking with your audience.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I definitely look forward to it. You can
Well,
book a meeting with me directly from my LinkedIn profile.
yeah. So Wes, this conversation reinforced something leaders are hungry to hear. The future won't be shaped by technology alone. It will be shaped by the people who know how to humanize it. Your work humanizing IT and humanizing AI, your storytelling philosophy, your transformation playbook, and now Game Time gives leader the roadmap they've been missing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for this conversation, and thank you for the work you're doing to make technology serve human, not the other way around. This is Executive Edge. I'm Nora Paxton. See you next time.